I see. I see. I'm the problem.
I've done two graves for us, my dear.
Welcome to The Wall. In today's video, we'll be discussing a very interesting story about a woman sharing her experience with her narcissistic mother-in-law. We'll see how the mother-in-law destroyed that relationship, everything she did, and how even mothers can be gold diggers who ruin a man's relationship because women don't have friends, they have competition. Your support is incredibly important to us. Give us a like and subscribe to the channel. We're aiming for 150,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Share your experiences and advice in the comments. That's what helps this community grow. Turn on notifications so you don't miss a single video. Alright, let's get started.
I 100% was not going to come on here and reveal who this character was based on, but I really can't have my current mother-in-law's name slandered because she's one of my best friends and she's probably my husband's best selling point, to be perfectly honest. I apologise for the buzzing noise in the background, someone's doing some work in the garden. I don't know if I could exactly call this person a mother-in-law because it was somebody that I dated for a very brief time because of her. I just could not bear this woman, she couldn't bear me, and so it was a call it a day. Okay, so a bit of background. The person that I was dating was not raised by his biological mum. He was raised by his aunties and his nan, who were wonderful, lovely, very welcoming. He had no contact with his mum when I first met him. Zero, zilch. Despite me, in my naive mind, saying you should probably reach out to your mum. Obviously now as an adult, I know that people cut their parents off for very good reasons. And once I met this woman, if you could even call her that, I fully understood his reasons. So at some point during the time that I was seeing this guy, he gets signed to play a certain sport and he starts to earn very decent money. And this woman, who has been a literal stranger to this boy his entire adult life, is suddenly all over him like a rash, like literally behaving like what you see me doing in those videos. She didn't even live in the same country as him for most of his life. She moved back to where she was from, which was in Eastern Europe. But 2 weeks after he gets signed, she rings him and she asks him if she can come and stay. And by the way, I will mention, she had never tried to ring him previous to that. Crickets, nothing. Now, naive me, I'm thinking maybe she just wants to like congratulate you, come and see you, I don't know. So he lives in a flat, which he rents all by himself, which was very impressive. He did so well for himself at a very young age. I think he was maybe 18 and he's renting a very nice apartment in a very nice place, and he has his best friend move in with him, and his best friend is paying like a very small percentage of the rent, which he didn't even want his best friend to pay, but his best friend just was like, I want to earn my keep, basically give him a little bit of money each month. So the week rolls around when his mum is supposed to come and visit him, but his mum is supposed to be staying with his nan, close to where she's going to fly into. The nan's house, close, she's going to stay there. There is all sorts of drama about her flight and whatnot, and eventually I just said, why don't you just pay for it? Like, it's really not that big of a deal to you. No, now I fully understand. Now I understand that it was the principle. He didn't want to pay for his mum because he knew what she was like. He knew she wasn't a nice person. Rather than go and stay at her mum's, when she arrives at the airport, she gets a cab to his house, which is an hour and a half away from this airport. Bear in mind, the nan's house is like a half-hour drive. Hour and a half hour, it made no sense. Anyway, she does that. She doesn't tell anyone that she's going to be arriving, and she just plonks herself outside, and then she calls him and says, I've got no money, can you come down and pay for my cab? They have not seen each other, I think it was like 11 years. That she had not seen him in his adult life. Left him, didn't come back. And now she is outside his apartment telling him to come down and pay for her cab. Again, he does it. He's like, fine, you know, I knew this was going to happen, but fine, I'm going to go and pay.
There's an old saying that goes, money makes the monkey dance. This woman, the mother of this man, is an Eastern European gold digger. One of the biggest sources of conflict between a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law is money, because the mother-in-law's worst fear is that her son, now with a new woman, will stop sending her that monthly check. You know women are territorial. When it comes to money, they'll destroy anything in their way. This mother-in-law is clearly no exception, but let's continue.
I can hear her shrieking from all the way upstairs. I do not mess with an imitation of her because it's ingrained in my memory. She comes up to the apartment with her suitcase. Now, she's staying for a week. Please tell me why this woman has 2 rolly suitcases, big ones, and a trunk, like a carry-on one. And I'm not somebody who travels light, but for me, even that seems excessive. And I know this is going to sound really judgy, but just bear with me here because I promise you, it all made sense later. She is head to toe in designer. Like, labels everywhere, head to toe. Like platform heels. And bear in mind, she's been on a flight, long flight, semi-long flight, but a flight still. And I love to dress up. Love it. But that was not a comfortable outfit. And also, again, I don't want to sound like I'm being mean, but it wasn't an outfit that you'd wear in front of your son or like your son's best mate. She goes straight for his friend. She ignores me as if I'm Casper the Friendly Ghost. Bear in mind, I am the person who opened the door for her. Like, that is a difficult task to achieve. To literally look past somebody who opened the door for you. And then she walks over to his friend who she's never met before. She doesn't know him. Doesn't know his name. Bear in mind, he has told her his name several times, as well as telling her that I'm his girlfriend. I've seen the text messages of him saying XYZ, me and Sarah, blah, blah, blah. Never acknowledges me. When she finally does acknowledge me, I kid you not, she said, I thought you'd be with somebody tall. You know, just as like your mum. I always imagined you with somebody tall. Now, for reference, I'm 5'2". His mum was very tall. And with the heels, I would estimate her height at maybe 6'4". That is not me exaggerating. I genuinely think when she walked through the door, she was about 6'4". So if her energy wasn't intimidating enough, her height bloody well was. Now, we're all sorts of confused because, remember, she's supposed to be staying with the nan. So he's like, why are you here? Come to find out, she's had a row with her mum. They've not spoken in the last few weeks. Nan's neglected to say that to him, so she's going to be staying with the boys. How I was raised, if someone is coming to your house and they are a guest, you give up your bed for them. And I don't even live there, so there's not really much I can say. It's almost like a Mexican standoff between him and his mum. So his best mate says, you can take my bed. So at that point, we're all thinking that it will be for a week. This woman moves in to the house, and whilst we were together, she never moved out. And in that time, I went off to uni, and by the time I came back from uni, we were no longer together, not speaking, but she was still living there. So it was like definitely a whole term of uni. I mean, it could have even been years. But in that time that I did know her and we were still together, she gaslit me into thinking that I was the most disgusting human being on the entire planet. And I think there must have been something in him, like his inner child, that was so healed by like having his mum there and her being proud of him, that he like changed. I'm going to do a part 2 on all the gaslighting, but basically everything that I have done in those videos is based loosely on everything that she did and said. Just for the record, I know that they did stop speaking again. And as soon as she realised that she wasn't going to get lots of money out of him, she just moved back.
Stop it. Get some help.
I've said before that when things fall apart, your mother is the one who's there for you. But that's when your mother has supported you through every step of your journey. After she settled in with suitcases and trunks as if she were planning an extended stay, our dear mother revealed what she was truly after. Her son's income, disguised as motherly affection. In other words, the gold digger's playbook, but in the I gave you life, narcissistic edition. This woman arrived with a clear agenda to take advantage of her son's success. Her biggest rival? His girlfriend. As I said, one of the main conflicts between mothers and daughters-in-law is the man's money. When a mother-in-law realizes her son isn't giving her money anymore, she instantly dislikes the girlfriend. The same can happen in reverse. The girlfriend might resent the mother if he's giving her money. Some even go so far as to damage things around the house to ensure no money goes her way, though that's not the case here. Let's dive into part 2. The story is getting really good.
Random things that my ex-mother-in-law didn't said because she fancied her own son. I think she wanted to marry him. Completely blanked me for the first 4 days of knowing me. Incredibly awkward because I was staying at my boyfriend's apartment. Some mornings we would wake up, my boyfriend would have gone to training and I would be there with just her and I would like be in the kitchen, let's say, and she would walk out of the apartment and not say goodbye. Just slam the door. Adios. And that would be after I would say good morning to her, obviously, because I'm not a weirdo. Got to the point where when he saw it, he was like, excuse me, like, Sarah's here, can you say hello to her? And her excuse for not being able to talk to me or just not even bothering was that there was a language barrier. Now, I totally understand that I do speak very fast sometimes, and maybe it is a little bit hard to decipher what on earth I'm saying. But her son had exactly the same accent as me because he hadn't seen his mum in 11 years. And she told him that if I had any respect for him, I would go and learn their language. Her own son could not speak their language. He could understand it slightly, but he could not speak it. So when he confronts her and says, like, you've got to start speaking to my girlfriend, her response is that every time she's then around me and I try and talk to her, she tells me, wait, she gets her phone out and she does Google Translate. Imagine that. Every time that you are in a room full of people, she is only translating what you say. She went as far as to say that I had a common accent, which I have been told before, but I don't expect to be told it constantly. It's just unnecessary. She constantly fat-shamed me. She compared me to a Shetland pony, which is semi-true and actually quite funny, but it did really hurt me at the time. One day, she invited me for coffee, and despite me thinking that she might just like put a load of arsenic in my coffee, I said I would go. For background, my boyfriend at the time did not know his dad, but she had told him that his dad was a certain nationality and he had always believed that. During this time in his career, he'd been given the opportunity to go and play for a certain team, represent them. You had to be a certain nationality. So he says he's got a fair chance of getting in with that side. I know nothing about sport, but there must be some sort of background checks. And so he would need to prove that he was indeed that nationality. At this coffee, she tells me she had lied about where his dad was from. I was shaking, like I vividly remember, because I felt I was devastated for him. And she tells me not to say anything. Now, I know some of you are going to think I'm wrong for this, but I sat on that information for a few days, and then after watching him going through everything that he was going through, trying to find certain things out so that he could put himself forward for this certain team, I said, listen, I need to tell you something. The other day when your mum took me for coffee, she told me she lied. I think she's a bit embarrassed. Having a massive temper, storms straight into her bedroom, starts screaming. Absolutely not what I intended to do, but that's what happened.
So, it seems like this Mother of the Year might have committed paternity fraud. At least, that's what's being implied. Don't you think, brothers? What we do know for sure is that she had it out for her daughter-in-law. It's a full display of gaslighting at its finest. The sarcastic tone she uses to belittle the girlfriend and reinforce the idea that she's the only important woman in her son's life already shows just how toxic this dynamic is.
Maybe I was wrong for that, but I didn't want him to be embarrassed when she couldn't pull through with whatever. I don't know. I was very young. She says she never told me that. Never said it. Flatly denies it to my face. She calls me out into the living room and we have to have like this, I don't know, it was like a scene from EastEnders. It was truly horrific. So now I'm looking like just some weirdo who wants to start trouble. And she sees this as an opportunity and she says that I'm jealous of her. I'm jealous of their bond. Bear in mind, they haven't seen each other for 11 years, but I'm jealous. I'm jealous of their bond. She goes as far as to say that she's used to this behaviour because women have always been jealous of her. I remember thinking, like, are you on drugs? I come from a family where my mum is not in competition with me. I don't see mother figures as someone that I would need to be jealous of because I see them as like love and care. It wouldn't even cross my mind. I did not know what gaslighting was back then, but I know what it is now, and I know that that's what that whole thing was. I leave and I'm like, there's no coming back from this. Like, I need to get away from this. This is weird. They somehow end up making up, and yeah, turns out she did lie and she does come clean to him, but she never apologises to me. Just still says that she didn't tell me. Doesn't even know how I know, she says. And that is where she starts to say that I am obviously like Googling him. I'm looking into him. That's how I found him. Bear in mind, when I met him, he was not signed by a club. He did not have a job. And none of that mattered. Definitely did not have a PI on him at the big age of, what, 18? Starts to say we've been raised differently. We have different upbringings, which I can only speculate as to what that meant because we did have different upbringings. We did. She abandoned him. Yeah, we would be different. Anyway, to make amends, she decides that she will cook us all dinner. And she cooks like a traditional dish, which was lovely, by the way. But at that time, I was a vegetarian, and so I could only eat like the salady bits, which would have been fine for me. I was happy with that. But she sees it as a chance for her to go on a rampage about how starving myself won't help me, won't make a difference. And despite the fact that she has told me several times that she is naturally thin and she doesn't have to try, unlike me, she tells me she knows exactly how I can lose weight. She's going to show me yoga. Despite the fact I have never expressed I'm unhappy. And so my boyfriend, who I probably had made a few comments to, like about myself, because you just do when you're in a relationship, you feel comfortable to make comments, starts to agree with his mum in a nice way. He's like, oh yeah, that would be nice. Like, that'd be a really nice opportunity for you two to get together. And they take my sheepish, yeah, kind of nod, like tears in my eyes type thing, as full consent. And the next thing I know, she is marching me to the bathrooms where there's scales and asking me to step on the scale in front of her, my boyfriend, and his best mate who was like loitering. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't weigh myself. I don't want to be weighed in front of people. I refuse, and then I leave because it's like far too awkward for me to like rectify that situation or laugh about it at that point because I just feel so uncomfortable. So now I look like a weirdo because she's trying to help me and I'm like running off. Sad. Anyway, the last straw for me was they have a big game coming up. Everyone's going to be invited. We're all going to be there, friends, family, you name it. Everyone's going. And one of the aunties is going to have the pre-party at her house. Everyone's going to meet there. Now, I really don't want to go for obvious reasons. And so rather than go on my own, I decided I'm going to take my little sister as backup. And for reference, she is 4 years younger than me, but she has always been like the mighty one that's not scared to stand up for herself. So she comes in handy and she's ride or die. So we arrived there and straight away, when she sees my sister, she is all over her. She can understand her. She thinks she's beautiful. She compliments her figure. And I will say my sister is absolute weldy. But we do look similar. In fact, I'm going to insert a picture just to show you. I'm in the middle and my sister Lucy is here. This one. I'm going to have to do part 3, sorry.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
The classic gaslighting tactic in action, all to distract and stay in control. This woman is extremely narcissistic, which is why I tell men that there's no such thing as solidarity between women. The worst enemy of a woman is another woman. Now I understand why the son had distanced himself. I'd cut her out of my life too, even if she were my mother. She's toxic and opportunistic. I won't say the daughter-in-law is a saint, either. She also tried to take advantage of the situation to damage the mother's relationship with her son. But, as I said, the mother-in-law had a clear agenda: to be the center of her son's attention and reap the benefits of the money he's now making. Let's keep going. This is where the video really starts to get good.
Part 3 of all the things my ex-mother-in-law did because she fancies her own son and wants to marry him. So we have just arrived at his auntie's house pre-game for the party. She makes lots of jokes to his aunties that he has picked the wrong sister in front of me. My sister is 14 years old. 14 years old. And this is the same woman who has called her son a ponce with an N for dating a girl that's 6 months younger than him and told him that I'm too immature. for him. Unless it's my sister, and in that case, he can go ahead and get with a 14-year-old, apparently, according to his mum. And then she starts on our outfits. Now, since we are going to a game, we have worn the colours of the team. I was waitress at the time. I never ever took money off of my boyfriend, not once. Unless we were going out together, I would never take any money from him, just wouldn't do it. Despite being offered it, never took it. Do I want a medal? Yes, I want a medal. His mum asks me why I haven't worn the specific shirt with his name on the back. I felt really on the spot. And I didn't want to just say, like, yeah, I couldn't actually afford that. So I just said, oh, I don't know. I don't know how that was better. But in my head, to say I don't know was better. And then she copies it. She goes, oh, I don't know. When I had been into the shop to buy that specific jersey, the only one that they had that I could afford was the children's size, at the age 11 to 12. So I bought it, but it didn't fit me. But it fit my sister. And so I gave it to her. And then I went on eBay, and with the money that I had left, I bought a scarf. And it was like a second-hand one, and I can't even remember what it cost me, but I know it was dirt cheap. And she berates me the whole time we are there about the fact that I haven't bothered and my sister has. And she refuses to allow me to leave until I am wearing a shirt. And so eventually, one of his aunties goes upstairs at her request, and she brings down a box of children's shirts that once belonged to him. And she's like, he will love it. Turn up in one of these shirts. So I take the box upstairs and I go through the shirts with my sister. She helps me. And I am literally crying because I know none of these shirts are going to fit me because I'm a grown up. And I know what you're thinking, like, it's not that deep. Why don't you just go downstairs and say, oh, they didn't actually fit me. I was too chicken shit. So I put on a shirt. It was like the biggest one that was there. It was like a jersey. It wasn't like a proper sport top, let's say. It was like a jersey one.
I have to say, this mother-in-law is very meticulous with everything she does. She's one of those toxic women who never misses a chance to spread some venom. The daughter-in-law, who clearly lacks self-esteem, can't even bring herself to call out this viper of a mother-in-law. One thing about narcissistic women like this mother-in-law is that they have plenty of attitude. They know exactly when to play the victim and when to mess with you. She saw an opportunity to make her look terrible with an old, sweaty shirt. She was trying to destroy the daughter-in-law's self-esteem. But let's see how it all ends. My MIL is so bad we have a restraining order against her. When my son grows, if he marries, I will be the best MIL, because I am so sad mine's terrible and I missed out on so much. I used to think my ex's mother-in-law was the only woman like this. The more I listen to stories like this, the more I feel I know now I was never the problem. My BF's mum told me I'm too old and fat for him, and he should wait to see if I get rich. I'm a lawyer training as a barrister. So it makes up for my many faults. I was fidgeting with my wedding ring, and my MIL sitting next to me said to me, if you don't want it, I'll take it. My MIL, also a mother of a footballer, purposely gave me severe food poisoning. She insisted on doing my plate for me, and I was the only one who got ill after a family barbecue. Needed antibiotics. My ex's mom called me lazy for not have a pristine house 2 days after I had a C-section. I was also useless for not being able to cook a 3-course meal 3 days postpartum.
So it looked like a baby tea, which, bless my heart, it didn't look good. I get to the game, I feel so embarrassed, like I am constantly pulling this scarf around me like a shawl, this second-hand scarf, which didn't smell great, but because I had to buy it second-hand and it was like a rush delivery job, I didn't have time to wash it and dry it, so it smelled weird. It smelled of like smoke, which she also comments on. The entire game, I feel so uncomfortable. She is introducing herself to like the other girlfriends as if she is his girlfriend. And I swear to God, I just know from her body language that she was discussing me all night with these other women. And I looked the part of what she was discussing. I looked like a weirdo. I know for a fact I looked that way in that little tiny baby tee and that smelly scarf. It smelled so bad. And my little sister at this point has had enough. She is like, let me say something to that woman now. Despite the fact that this woman wants to be her best friend, she's like, nah, I'm not having it. She's not speaking to you like that. And she's like gassing me up in the toilet. She's like, I won't have it. You're worth more. And my self-esteem is on the floor, standing in this little I just looked aside. Anyway, she's like, not having it. She's like, no. Going out there, I'm going to tell her how I feel. These events are free bars. So all you got to do is just go up, get yourself a drink. It's all included. Like, you don't have to worry about anything. And no one's IDing her. So she's just going up and getting herself a drink. So I'm not realising that she's a little bit merry. And I'm drinking out of nerves. And I think you know where this is going. We both storm out there. Well, she storms and I like go out behind her in my stinky scarf. She taps her on the shoulder. Well, it wasn't really her shoulder because this woman was quite literally like 6 foot on the waistband. And she's like, listen, you're not going to speak to my sister like that. She acts stunned, shocked, surprised. Like, she's like, what do you mean? I don't even talk to your sister, which was true. She never really spoke to me. Everything that happened is a blur after that. But I do know that me and Lucy did, in fact, live up to the chavette reputation that had preceded us. A drink was spilt, thrown, and Georgie, whose real name I will protect, he took his mum's side. Yeah. So FYI, ladies, if you want to play dirty, do it all undercover. Yeah. If you have a truly spectacular mother-in-law that's as evil as that one, and you don't know how to do things in a covert way, you're going to come off worse. You'll always come off worse.
After reading all these comments, I can see that many women also have mothers-in-law who are a complete nightmare. I thought it was just us men who went through this, but women can be terrible to each other as well. This just makes it even clearer to me that a woman's worst enemy is often another woman. We've reached the end of the video, but before we go, the questions are for you. What do you think about this man's mother? Who do you think was in the right, the mother-in-law or the daughter-in-law? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Your support means the world to us and motivates us to create more content. Stay tuned for the next exciting video from The Wall.